Hello and welcome to Kirklees Local TV's weekly wind-up program. I am Pastor Napier, your host for today. Each week we tend to review the latest news and explore the impact such news would have on our local community. Today I am delighted to welcome our very special guest here, and we've got David Hudson, and we've got a local educator and community activist in the person of Natalie Pinnock Hamilton, MBE, and also another community activist and CEO of Eagle Eye Enterprise, Denzel Nurse. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this program today.
Gotcha.
Well, we shall be looking at three important topics. The Ashya King health saga, who decides who is right or wrong, and the new sports center coming to Huddersfield, but there's no Bowling Green. Black History Month is coming. Do we really need it? We're asking for your participation, and as we speak to you, we're asking to get in touch with us. You can do so via our email address on info@kirkleeslocaltv.com, or you can find us on Twitter at Kirklees Local TV. So to start this great debate, we're going to be looking at the Ashya King health saga. The news have kept us focused, and many of us as parents have been wondering, what is it all about? Did we really need to get such a high profile coverage? Who is right and wrong? Denzel, may I start with you? You're a nurse, you're a father, and you're certainly a community person. This Ashya King health saga, did it need to go this way? And if you were the parent, would you have taken the same steps that these parents have done?
Good morning. In my opinion, I think it needed to go this way. Here is a family that is up against the might of the authorities, and you need to be pretty strong to resist these challenges. This family was in a double bind situation. The fact that it is their child and they're so very close to it, they have to be part of that decision-making process. And I think that, in my opinion, given all the challenges that they've had and the pressures from the local, from the health authority, we don't know all the facts, but from what we have gathered, they had to make a decision as a parent. And whether it's right or wrong, it was their conviction that they should do something for their child. And they did, and faced the consequences. We have then noticed that it has turned out in their favor, but if that was another ordinary family who don't have the articulation or the confidence to challenge those people, they will have to go along with the status quo. As we've seen, they have gone way down the road, and it's now turned out the way they wanted it. Many people have said that it's part of a lack of communication, and it has turned out to be a lack of communication, because if both parties were talking to each other, they would have come to an amicable agreement to do what is right for the child. So as a parent, I would say they have done the right thing.
So Natalie, hearing all that Denzel has to say, and we're all in Europe, we're just bopping over into Spain to have some respite. Do you think it's their parents' right to decide who's feeling the pain the most, the world at large, or the parent and the family?
I would agree with a lot of what Denzel said, but I think it's just such a shame that in the UK, where healthcare is supposed to be one of the best, that people are so disillusioned and disheartened that they had to take that step with their child to flee from the hospital to try and get to another country where they felt the treatment would be better. I think it's very hard as a parent, because what do? You've got a very sick child who's here in hospital, and to make the decision to remove this child and to travel across to another country. I don't know how I feel about that, because on the one hand, you're not a medic, Do you know what to do if anything was to go wrong whilst you were travelling? Or do you just leave the child and hope for the best? As Denzel said, a lack of communication. They needed to talk to the family in the first place to prevent this happening and to give them the confidence that they would be doing the best for the child. Then this wouldn't have happened. But as it's turned out for the best, because the child's now getting the treatment that the parents wanted.
So just before we ask Dave to shed some more light on this, it seems the role of the media has been very instrumental in all of this, good or bad. The police and the NHS, so it seems as if there are multiple players, big names in this. Dave, do you think the media and the police acted right in their relationship to the public? Were they right to highlight such a case, and should the police get involved?
They had to get involved because the actual child was registered as a missing person, and because of that the police have to be involved. They have no choice in the issue. They have to take all necessary steps. It was found that the parents and the child had gone to Spain. They had to involve the Spanish police in it because that is their job to do it. Did we know at that time that this wasn't an abduction for some other reason other than getting the child well? No, we did not at the time. And I have to say, I don't think the newspapers helped one jot in their coverage. It started, these parents are the worst thing since you could ever, you know, they were painted as demonic was the parents. How dare they take their child? Then suddenly, oh, just a minute, actually, people are more tending to side with them. I'll tell you what, let's call them heroes. So it's the police and the National Health Service that are the demons. Oh, dearie me, the press in this country has got so much to blame, to be blamed for this. I could go on forever, I'll try not to. The other point that's making, and Natalie touched on it, it's so difficult. Who knows best? The doctors or the parents? And there is quite often a conflict. And I can speak from personal experience here because at the moment I am still under treatment myself. Now, I thought I knew what was wrong with me and I thought I knew what treatment I wanted. The doctor said, no, that isn't what's wrong and this is what the treatment should be. And I listened to them rather than going to my own instinct. And they were right. They were right. Now, they could have been right about this. They may still be right about this child, but they're not being given the opportunity to say. Their hands are tied. They're between a rock and a hard place because whatever they do or say, they're damned if they do something about it and they're damned if they don't. So in other words, that leads to the situation, if you're right, you're wrong, and if you're wrong, you're finished. And that's no way to run a health service or no way to run a newspaper.
Just to wind up where this is concerned, Denzel, do you think it's time we as parents be given more of a choice in what we do or say about our children, or are we becoming a nation where we are just torn between the political arena and the newspaper?
I think we are given a choice, especially in the new era of new health service thinking. People are given a choice.
Lovely.
What they're not given is the education and the knowledge and the information in order to make those choices.
Education is what we need. Well, we in West Yorkshire certainly wish Ashya King and his family the very best. Now we are moving swiftly into our second topic for today, and it is one that is going to touch all of us. The new sports centre, the government's initiative. We must be a healthy nation, but unfortunately, there are some people in our community who are disgruntled because they said that there's no bowling green attached to this new sports center. So Dave, may I just ask you, who makes a decision, and should we really have a bowling green in the sports center, the new sports center?
I'm really caught in two minds here, you know, because I'm a motor racing fan. There is no motor racing circuit. Well, of course there isn't, you know, because somewhere you've got to stop and say, that's what we can afford and that's what we're going to have. However, I do happen to think that for older people, a bowling green and playing bowls is a good way of keeping fit and doing exercise. And I lament the fact, and so will support anybody who says there should be a bowling green. But then somebody will say, what, there should be some, oh, and if they're getting a bowling green, then what we should have, you know, where do you stop? You know, there isn't a bottomless pit of money for this. I wish there was, but there isn't. So you've got to stop somewhere. And unfortunately, the line, I think, had it been thought of a bit better, could have been drawn the other side of a bowling green. I think that would not have constituted too much trouble to put one in, and I think Huddersfield would have been all the better for having one.
Natalie, we were looking forward to this new sports centre. Do you really honestly feel, as a community activist, that the sports centre management and the local council have made the right decision in omitting what some people of our community is seriously talking about, their bowling green?
Well, firstly, I'd just like to say I don't know why we're having a new sports centre in the first place, because I didn't see anything wrong with the sports centre we had. But then that's me, and I'm not a professional. I don't know what the reasons are for it. But when I've gone in, it looks fine to me. And to me, it's a waste of money, which we could use in other areas of our community. But regards to the bowling green, I'm not into bowling. I don't understand it. And I see people bowling in lots of places. They've got it in Greenhead Park. They've got it down Leeds Road at the health complex. When I've gone down there, people bowling there. They've got bowling everywhere. So if they're saying by not including the bowling green, we're going to save X number of pounds, then I have no qualms about that, because they have to prioritise. They have to make a lot of cuts, and if that is one of them, they're not saying you won't be able to bowl ever again, because I think bowling's to be found in all areas of Kirklees. So no, I wouldn't really cry about it.
Well, here we go now. I am going to speak on behalf of the bowling fraternity and pose this question to Denzel, because they pay into their local taxes, and of course most of the greens are outdoors, and they're saying we want something indoors. Now, Denzel, do you think and believe that they have just the amount of right, like the swimmers? Why didn't we put some of the swimming pool outside? And so they are saying that winter is coming. We want an indoor bowling green, and it's a large fraternity here. Is it the right decision that the management have made in excluding the bowling green?
You can't have everything in. And the politicians or the decision makers have to rationalize the situation. We can ask the question, why is there not a boxing rink in, or an ice rink, or a house spa? All of those, and people can make the cases for those. We have to draw the line somewhere. With regards to bowling, I personally don't think that there should be one in. What would be better is that there are a number of bowling greens around Kirklees, in and around Kirklees. Why not give these people, and I'm included, I've just gone 70, so I've dropped into that category. Why not give us an additional Kirklees passport, so that we can afford to go to the outside bowling greens and enjoy ourselves? Okay. That's one way of dealing with it.
Okay. So I'm afraid we're going to have to end that discussion on the bowling green, and maybe we just have to use our community activists to link up with our fraternity out there to make sure that Kirklees and the local government here provide something very special for them. Well, right now we're going to take a short break. Do not touch that button. We'll be back. This is your weekly wind-up from Kirklees Local TV. Welcome back to the lively debate we're having here in the studio of Kirklees Local TV. It's your weekly wind-up program. And here we have in the studio today Natalie from the community, Denzel from the community, and our own Kirklees Local TV, Dave Hudson, who is our production manager. Now, final segment of this show today, we're going to be looking at the Black History Month, which is coming soon. October, every year in the UK, is Black History Month, a time of reflection on the struggles, the success, the failures, and everything concerning Black people. And we now term it as Black History Month. And I'm going to ask Denzel first of all. Denzel, do you think Black History Month has lost its touch? And do we really need it?
I'm not sure whether it's ever had its touch, in the sense that although Black History Month should be, as the name implies, it has been diluted. We have not concentrated, we the black community have not concentrated on what the true meaning of black history is and what it should be. I believe it should be a time of the black community enlightening the wider community on black history, what it means for us as the black community, and the benefits that can be gained right across the board. In schools, in the black community, in the host community, getting them to understand where we're coming from, and in so doing, contribute to the community cohesion. What has turned out is a month of not celebrations, but hotspots of black issues, food, music. That takes us nowhere. We need something more substantial to enlighten the community and to enhance our history in the light of the people who are seeing it from the other side. There's a saying, if you don't know where you've come from, you certainly don't know where you're going. And we need to let the whole community know about our history, where we've come from, so that we can track a path on the way forward. The British does it. If there's anything, and World War I and II is a good example, we are flooded with past history on the television, lest we forget. We need to do that. We need to copy the Jews and not go on and on about the Holocaust, but ensure that it doesn't happen again and put things in place so that people get a sense of where we're going and what we need.
Thank you, Denzel. That's a very powerful lecture there in just a few minutes. Now, we've got Dave here, and I'm looking at Dave from a perspective that, what does Black history mean, can you say, to our English brothers and sisters? Are there any lessons that they can learn during this month in terms of we as a people?
I think the main thing is not confusing history with the present. Festivals and food make history. They are not history as such. And I do think there's been so much a sort of misunderstanding of what the history is, that it's sort of being put aside, and history is being made rather than recorded. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And I think the mistake that's been made is there's not enough recording, and there's more concentration on making it. And I think what needs to happen is that more should be done in way of researching what has happened, and is in a way of presenting it as the First World War has been presented on television and film within the last few months. There isn't enough I do not know enough about the roots of where some of our black brethren, if I can call that,
that's right, you can,
actually from. And I'm all the poorer for not knowing that. But please don't leave it to me to find out for myself, although I should. Why don't you tell it to me?
Right. Well, here we've got on our panel today, fortunately, myself included, but Natalie, we're going to use you. You're an educator, you're a community leader, you've been involved in Black History Month from, I wouldn't say from it began, to make it too old, but listen carefully. As an educator, are we trying to do the work of schools and colleges? Aren't the teachers and our education establishment supposed to include this in the curriculum and roll out the carpet when it comes to Black History Month, just like World War I and II? Are we running scared for teaching and enlightening people about the struggle, the past of black people. What's your views?
Well, what I was going to say is that we really shouldn't need Black History Month. We shouldn't have a month where we're concentrating on our blackness, on our achievements, on our history, because that should permeate our whole being, not just black people, but everyone. Everyone should know about the black history, the past. And yes, schools have a part to play in this, because if it was included in the curriculum, then it would be normal. People would know where black people come from, instead of someone asking me where in Africa is Jamaica. And in this day and age, that shouldn't be happening. So yes, the schools have a big part. The universities, colleges have a big part to play to highlight the presence of black people, to highlight our history, to look at where we've been, where we're going, and what we're doing now. It's important to look at our achievements so that people can see the positives, because there's a lot of negatives about, and people pick up on those, but the positives are really important, and the way forward is education.
Well, just when we were getting our teeth into this debate, we've got to go. Our time has expired. This is Pastor Napier from Kirklees Local TV's Weekly Wind-Up. Just having time to say thanks to my guests, Denzel, Natalie, and David. Tune in next week for another edition of your Weekly Wind-Up with Kirklees Local TV. Ta-ta.